we're trying to find all the zeros of this polynomial, so it doesn't tell us only real, so that means I can find our imaginary ones if that happens to be the case here. What I know, because the degree is 3, is I'm going to find 3 zeros for both of these problems, okay? Now, generally, I would start by doing p's over q's. However, you guys do have your calculator, so I would strongly suggest using that to find, to see if we have any real or rational zeros. So we have x cubed minus 8x squared plus 22x minus 20. And I'm going to press zoom 6 to just put it in the standard viewing window. And there is a 0 here. It looks pretty close to 2. Let's see. Yep. All right. So if I go to my table, so second graph, I have it set up where it's automatically changing by ones. So I can see that I have a 0 here. When x is 2, my function is 0. So that is going to be my, my one real 0 here. So I have 2 and 1, negative 8, 22, negative 20. So 1, 2, negative 6, negative 12, positive 10, positive 20, 0. And what happens is I get x squared minus 6x plus 10. All right. Once I'm here, I need to find the 2 remaining zeros. But there are not 2 numbers that multiply to 10 and add to negative 6. So my preferred method of solving at this point would be to complete the square. So if I set this equal to 0, that's equivalent to x squared minus 6x plus some number equals negative 10 plus some number. And we're going to take half the middle. Half of negative 6 is negative 3. But obviously, anytime you square a negative, this third term is always going to be positive. So 3 squared is 9. So this equals negative 1. Take the square root of both sides. You get x minus 3 equals plus or minus I. So then x equals positive 3 plus or minus I. Now it wants us to find all the zeros. You want to make sure that you don't forget about the real 0. So this is 2 comma 3 plus or minus I. We can leave it in this format because it's just asking for the zeros. All right, for the next one here, we're going to start the same way. You could use p's over q's, but because we have our calculator, let's use it to our advantage. So we have 10x squared and then plus 57x minus 82. We graph that, and it looks like 2 again is our real 0. I'm going to just double check with the table. Sure enough, when x is 2, y is 0. So we have 2, and then 1, negative 10, 57, negative 82. So we get 1, 2, negative 8, negative 16, and then positive 41, positive 82, 0. So we have x squared minus 8x plus 41 equals 0. Now again, I actually prefer to do completing the square. I'm going to go ahead and do the quadratic formula though, just to take you guys through an example of that so you can see like the 2 go-to methods for this type of problem. So again, my preference is to complete the square, but some of you really like to use a quadratic formula. So we have x equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c. A is 1, so I'm only going to put c here, all over 2 times a, which is 1. So we have 8 plus or minus root 64 minus 164, all over 2. So that is 8 plus or minus root, looks like it's going to be negative 100 over 2, which is 8 plus or minus 10i over 2. All right, now you can either factor a 2 out of the top or remember that you have to divide both of these by 2. So in this case, we get 4 plus or minus 5i. All right, so our zeros for this problem are going to be 2 and 4 plus or minus 5i.